The Galveston Naval Museum is a naval and military history museum located at Seawolf Park in Galveston, Texas, focused on U.S. Navy heritage, especially from World War II onward. It celebrates the bravery, innovation, and life aboard actual historic naval vessels, and showcases multiple real ships and artifacts preserved for public exploration. The museum isn't your traditional brick-and-mortar building. It's a park with two ships for you to explore. The USS Cavalla was towed to this location in 1971, with the USS Stewart joining 3 years later. It was originally called the American Undersea Warfare Center, but the name was changed to Galveston Naval Museum in 2018. The museum lets you walk aboard and explore two historic naval vessels and related displays. The tours are self-guided, so you can stay as long as you want on each vessel. They do offer a hard hat tour for an additional fee where you can go deeper into sections of the Stewart, and they even offer sleepover tours. But we really didn't want to stay in those small bunks. So they have two ships here. The USS Cavalla is a Gato-class World War II submarine famous for sinking the Japanese aircraft carrier Shokaku. The USS Stewart is an Edzo-class destroyer escort that protected convoys in World War II. It's the only preserved ship of its class in the U.S. Let's talk about the history of the Cavalla first. When it slid into the water at Groton, Connecticut in November 1943, she was one of dozens of Gato-class submarines being rushed into service as the U.S. pressed deeper into World War II. Commissioned on February 29, 1944, Cavalla was built for stealth, endurance, and deadly precision, qualities that would soon make her one of the most consequential submarines of the Pacific War. After training along the East Coast and in the Caribbean, Cavalla transitioned to the Panama Canal and headed for the Pacific, where the war against Imperial Japan was reaching a critical phase. On her very first war patrol in June 1944, she found herself in the middle of history. While operating east of the Philippines, her crew detected a massive Japanese carrier task force maneuvering ahead of what would become the Battle of the Philippine Sea. On June 19, 1944, Cavalla maneuvered into firing position against a Japanese aircraft carrier. The carrier was no ordinary target. It had participated in the attack on Pearl Harbor and had survived multiple major naval battles. The Cavalla fired a spread of torpedoes, scoring devastating hits. Explosions ripped through the carrier, igniting aviation fuel and ammunition. Within hours, the Japanese ship capsized and sank, taking over 1,200 crewmen with her. The attack immediately drew fierce retaliation. Japanese destroyers blanketed the area with depth charges, hammering the sub for hours. The submarine was driven deep, suffering damage and enduring a terrifying ordeal as the crew fought to keep her alive. Against the odds, she survived and escaped, her first patrol already cementing her place in naval history. For this extraordinary action, she was awarded the Presidential Unit Citation. Cavalla would go on to complete 6 war patrols during World War II, ranging across enemy-controlled waters. Over the course of the war, she traveled nearly 90,000 nautical miles, conducted hundreds of combat dives, and sank more than 34,000 tons of enemy shipping. By war's end, she had earned 4 battle stars and had proven the devastating effectiveness of American submarine warfare. In September 1945, Cavalla entered Tokyo Bay as part of the occupying fleet, witnessing the final surrender of Japan and the end of the conflict she had helped to bring to a close. After the war, she was briefly placed in reserve, but the onset of the Cold War gave her renewed purpose. Recommissioned in 1951, she was converted into a hunter-killer submarine, designed to track and destroy enemy submarines rather than surface ships. Reclassified as SSK-244, she trained crews and tested tactics in an era when underwater warfare was rapidly evolving. She was later redesignated as an auxiliary submarine and continued to serve in support and training roles until her final decommissioning in December 1969. Rather than being scrapped, she was saved by submarine veterans who recognized her historical importance. In 1971, she was towed to where she is now, in Seawolf Park on Pelican Island in Galveston, Texas, where she became the museum ship we toured. Next, we toured the USS Stewart. When the Stewart was laid down in Houston, Texas in the summer of 1942, the Atlantic Ocean was already a deadly battleground. German U-boats prowled shipping lanes, sinking cargo ships faster than the Allies could replace them. The Navy needed a new kind of warship, small, fast, and purpose-built to protect convoys, and Stewart was one of those answers. Launched in November 1942 and commissioned on May 31, 1943, Stewart was named for Rear Admiral Charles Stewart, a War of 1812 naval hero. She carried a relatively small crew, but every soldier aboard knew their mission was vital: keep Allied supply lines alive. Early in her service, she operated out of Florida, training new naval crews and escorting vessels along the U.S. coast. One of her most unusual assignments came in 1943, when she helped protect President Franklin D. Roosevelt's presidential yacht as it traveled down the Potomac River. That journey allowed the president to board the battleship USS Iowa and head overseas for the Tehran Conference, where Allied leaders would shape the final course of the war. By 1944, Stewart was sent into the harsh reality of the North Atlantic. Over the next year, she completed approximately 30 convoy crossings between North America and Europe. These voyages were long, cold, and dangerous. Enemy submarines lurked below the waves, while storms battered ships relentlessly. Destroyer escorts like Stewart spent endless hours on watch, scanning the seas for periscopes, ready to react at a moment's notice. Their presence alone often forced German U-boats to retreat, protecting thousands of lives and millions of tons of critical cargo. In April 1945, Stewart was called upon for a different kind of heroism. After a cargo ship collided with another vessel, Stewart rushed to the scene. Her crew helped fight fires, restore power, rescue survivors, and escort the damaged ship to safety, an example of how destroyer escorts were as much lifesavers as they were warships. As the war in Europe ended, Stewart was reassigned to the Pacific, operating out of Pearl Harbor. There, she conducted training missions in preparation for continued operations against Japan. Before she could see combat in the Pacific, however, the war came to an end in August 1945. Needless to say, the Galveston Naval Museum is a great experience, but a word of warning, you must be able to do a lot of walking and stair climbing to really get your money's worth. But for us, it was worth every penny.